Nick, don't do this.
Just go as far upriver as you can. This is my suicide note.
Why don't you ever go out there?
Because I like it better in here.
Goddamn work of art.
I don't think guns are works of art.
You should be dead. Luciana said you were brave.
I'm not.
You're foolish. Death is not to be feared.
When I went down, everyone was dead. Jesus Christ.
It's the world we live in.
You always lived in that world. Now it's okay for you to be who you really are.
Are you bit?
I'm good.
Are you bit?
No, I'm good.
You have a brother.
His name was Nick.
It's none of this. You don't get what it makes people do. You don't know what I have to do, Alicia. You don't know.
I never knew where I was going. It's like I've been living this for a long time. And now I'm not afraid of dying.
Nick Clark is one of the best written characters in the whole Walking Dead universe, and in today's video I'm going to be going over why this character is the most realistic depiction of a person within the show. So join me as we delve into the realism of the character of Nick Clark, but first we must learn his story. Nick Clark was born to Madison and Stephen Clark in 1991, which makes him 19 years old at the time of the outbreak. Nick had always battled substance abuse, and after the death of his father, he relapsed and suffered from depression. But in this dark time, he met Gloria, who eventually would go on to become his girlfriend. But one morning, he wakes up in an abandoned church and finds Gloria eating the other junkies. He is horrified, and this is the first account of someone seeing a walker in the whole Walking Dead universe. Seeing this horrific scene instantly causes Nick to sober up. As the world collapses around Nick, Nick quickly adapts to the new reality. His past experience with addiction and life on the streets give him a unique perspective and a set of survival skills. He becomes one of the first people to understand the true nature of the infected and learns to use walker blood to camouflage himself from them, allowing him to navigate the world with a certain level of fearlessness. After Nick and Madison clash on ideals, Nick makes his way to the La Colinia community, where he becomes a key figure. His empathy for the infected and willingness to make tough decisions earn him a lot of respect, and he plays a crucial role in leading the group to safety. It's in this community he meets Luciana, his girlfriend. Eventually Nick reconnects with his family at the ranch and even tries to sacrifice himself in order to save them at the dam when Proctor John threatens his family's life. After the events of the dam, we get a roughly 2-year time jump to Nick farming in an old baseball stadium, which they have built up to house a community. The Nick we see here is very different to the one we see at the start of the outbreak, as he doesn't want to leave and insists on staying inside. However, after the vultures set a group of walkers to infest the stadium, which causes the assumed death of Madison Clark, Nick retaliates by killing Enos, which in return gets him shot by Charlie on day 795 of the outbreak, bringing an end to this truly unique character's story. Nick's unique perspective on the infected, seeing them as part of the natural order rather than just enemies, adds a layer of realism to his character. His ability to coexist with the walkers and his fascination with them show a different way of coping with the apocalypse. It's human nature to be curious and ask questions, and Nick truly does this like no other character in the show. He reflects a more complex understanding of the world, making him feel like a real person rather than just a typical survivor. I mean, we see a prime example of this in Mexico, when Nick leaves his own family when he doesn't like the people they are becoming. This instantly sets him apart from many other characters within the show, as he actually demonstrates his own opinions and takes actions. Plus, in the episode Grotesque in season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, we see a whole episode dedicated to Nick's travels to a new community. However, this journey is riddled with obstacles, and unlike a character such as Morgan, who just runs from Atlanta to Texas with no problems or obstacles, this 50-kilometer journey nearly kills Nick, as it highlights not just his true survival grit, but also how unprepared he is for surviving on his own, which I think is extremely realistic. I think Nick's curiosity and adventurous nature is something a lot of people would have if this was to happen in the real world. Nick's character development is gradual and believable. He evolves from this troubled and confused kid who doesn't really know his place in the world, focused on only his survival, to someone who takes on responsibilities and cares for others. His growth is not linear, he has setbacks and moments of regression, especially with his drug use, but I will get into that later. But all of this makes his journey feel authentic and true to life. He is not this perfect character who makes all the right decisions. He makes mistakes, and a lot of them, which make him really realistic. And he's also not this extremely righteous hero doing all these things for the greater good. His motives are keeping himself and the people he loves alive, which, unlike the later seasons of Fear the Walking Dead, actually makes sense. And his willingness to engage with morally questionable groups and his pragmatic approach to survival reflect the type of decisions that people would actually have to make in this post-apocalyptic landscape. That constant feeling of never belonging, depression, and addiction are all extremely human features, and the emotions Nick demonstrates are accurate. For example, he shows an immense amount of guilt around his addiction and how it affected his family and his little sister Alicia's life. He also clashes with Madison and shows the complexity of family life. His emotional response to trauma, loss, and guilt are portrayed in genuine ways, allowing viewers to see his internal struggles as he tries to navigate the new world, while also dealing with his personal demons. Now, the last point won't apply to everyone, but roughly 1 in 7 people struggle with some form of addiction, and in Nick's case, this is a drug addiction. In my Bob video, I discussed how it adds a sense of realism to the character, and the exact same thing can be said for Nick. Nick's battle with drug addiction is a central part of his character, and it's portrayed in a raw and authentic manner. His addiction shapes his behaviour, his decisions, and his relationships, reflecting the complexities of real life issues. The series doesn't shy away from showing the consequences of his addiction, and the show even depicts him relapsing and falling back into his addiction multiple times, even in the zombie apocalypse, which is realistic. It's not a simple process giving up an addiction, and Nick's character is deeply flawed, just like all of us are in some way, shape or form. So in conclusion, I believe Nick Clark is the most realistic depiction of a real person within the show. He has a believable growth with character setbacks and mistakes, and his unconventional view of the world make him a deeply relatable character who mirrors the complexity of real human behaviour. He is not this 2D stereotypical hero who gets everything right and kills loads of bad guys. He's just a guy trying to figure out his place in the world and is doing everything he can to try and stay alive. And I found myself relating to Nick a lot when watching the early seasons of Fear the Walking Dead, and I have never been addicted to drugs. He has so much more to him than most characters, and Frank Delane, the actor, does an exceptional job at portraying Nick Clark. I truly believe it's some of the best acting we have seen in any Walking Dead media. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe if you did, as we are so close to 3,000 subscribers. But again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.